The 2020 season, listen, it's quickly approaching. I mean, it's here. Preseason practices are here. So if you're looking for some great competition to watch this year, I have you covered. So in this list, I'm going to talk about some guys that really finished strong last year and have great potential in the 2020 season. I'm also going to discuss some red shirts, some medical red shirts, and guys maybe you just forgot about because they took last year off for whatever reason. So on this list, and I have a list of 23 returning wrestlers that I need you guys to know about so you can follow this year. There are no undefeated wrestlers, and I do have different wrestlers at every single weight class. So I have wrestlers at every single weight class, and it's not just the number 1 and number 2 guys. I have a couple guys that are different. Now, they come from many different schools, many different weight classes. So let's get into it. Spencer Lee is the first guy starting at 125 pounds. This is going to be an exciting weight to watch. Okay, so Spencer Lee is the first guy, a junior, a 2-time national champion, and he's looking for his 3rd title. I mean, that's really the biggest storyline here at 125 pounds. Last year, he was 23-3, had a couple of losses, Piccinini and Sebastian Rivera. Of course, he avenged his loss to Pitch at Nationals, but Rivera there's 2 losses on him, and Rivera will be looking to, Lee will be looking to avenge that loss this year. That's why Rivera is another guy to watch this year at 125 pounds from Northwestern. Rivera was 30-2 last year. He ended up placing 3rd at the national tournament last year. And like I said, he beat Lee twice. Now, one other guy that I'd like to throw in at 125 is Jack Mueller. Jack Mueller is a senior from Virginia. He was undefeated going into the national tournament and actually going to the national finals. Somebody that really, I think, kind of flew under the radar for whatever reason. But he made an impact and he wrestled well until the national finals when he did lose to Lee in what was a great match, really. So he ended up taking 2nd last year. And the next guy to watch moving up a weight class, somebody who is flying under the radar right now, maybe to you, is Seth Gross. Seth Gross is a senior who's transferred from South Dakota State to Wisconsin. Now, he's at Wisconsin this year. In his previous season that he wrestled, he was 29-1. He took a medical redshirt last year because he was injured early on in the season. Now, what's exciting is he's a returning champ from 2018. Now, we will not see the returning champ from 2019 wrestling this year in Nick Suriano because he is taking that Olympic redshirt year, but Seth Gross is looking for his 2nd title. And another guy who's in the finals last year, who's looking to overtake Gross and really wants that title, is Dayton Fix. Now, Dayton Fix may be taking an Olympic redshirt year. We really don't know yet because it's so early on in the season. But Dayton Fix of Oklahoma State was 35-2 last year. He had his loss in the finals to Nick Suriano and ended up being a runner-up in the national finals. So those are the 2 at 133. At 141, a couple guys here, and one guy who has really made an impact and excited me. Please let me know if he's excited you at all, because he is for sure excited me. And make sure that you leave your comments down below and let me know who you're most excited to see wrestle this year, because this is my list, but who are you most excited to see? So Dom Demas, is a sophomore. Came in last year and placed 4th at the national tournament as a freshman, which is phenomenal. All-American as a freshman, was 34-9. Came in really, really hot and placed 4th. Right now, he's ranked number 1 at 141, and the guy ranked number 2 is Nick Lee. Of course, this is another weight that's just opened up a little bit because of Yanni not wrestling this year because of his Olympic redshirt year. So these 2 guys are looking to come in. And when Nick Lee had a loss to Dom last year, but he had a very exciting season at Penn State. Moving up to 149 is another guy who it wasn't number 1 last year, just like Dom, but he's number 1 this year in Austin O'Connor. O'Connor from UNC is ranked number 1 at 149. He placed 3rd at the national tournament last year, and I believe almost all of his losses were to seniors who graduated. So now he's kind of moved up that totem pole, and he's ready he's ready to take up the mantle and look for that national title and look for many, many wins this year. He was 34-6 last year, looking to, obviously win over 30 matches again this year and looking for that national title. But he will have somebody in his way in Brock Mahler, the sophomore from Missouri, was 33-5 last year. Now, he actually lost to O'Connor by a point last year at Nationals, so that's why we could see these two flip-flopping at any time throughout the season if they wrestle early on. At 157, somebody that I'm personally really excited to watch wrestle is Hayden Hidlay. Hidlay of NC State has kind of, over the past couple of seasons, he's been, I don't want to say overshadowed, but he had some close matches with Jason Nolf. And Nolf was just always there to beat him, even though Hidlay had some very close matches with him. Of course, last year in the semifinals, Hidlay potentially even beat him if the ref made that decision go any other way. But this year he finally has his shot, okay? Hidlay finally has his shot, and he was 24-4 last year, placed fourth, but this year he's looking for first. Now, the other guy at 157 that I want to talk about is not the second guy, not the third-ranked guy, but the fourth-ranked guy, and Larry Early. Why am I talking about him? Early is a senior from Old Dominion. Old Dominion, he's ranked very high, and I'm talking about him because he beat Hayden last year in a duel with NC State and Old Dominion. He beat him 4-2. Now, he does have a loss to Deacon, who's ranked number 3, so we could see these guys going back and forth throughout the entire year. Now that we're halfway through this list, I want to make sure that you guys go over to Fanco Wrestling on Instagram to follow for more wrestling stats and to be updated throughout the entire wrestling season. Even whenever there aren't new videos, there will be more content on Instagram. Now, moving on to 165 pounds, Vincenzo Joseph. Vincenzo Joseph is the top-ranked guy at 165 pounds. He was 27-2 last year. His 2 losses, one in the national finals, one in the Big Ten finals, losing to Alex Marinelli. Now, of course, Marinelli is the other guy that I want to talk about. Marinelli from Iowa was also 27-2 last year. We'll see these guys go back and forth whenever they wrestle. Now, Marinelli was undefeated going into the national tournament. He beat Vincenzo twice in his entire career, actually. So he beat him last year, and then he beat him the year before in a duel. And there have actually been only 2 guys to beat Vincenzo Joseph twice, one of those being Isaiah Martinez and one of them being Alex Marinelli. I see this as a potential national championship matchup. These 2 guys are, I just like to see what this holds in store for us this year. Of course, Vincenzo Joseph is looking for his 3rd title in his 4th finals this year, so it's exciting to see how he'll do. Now, another Penn State wrestler that I'd like to talk about is Mark Hall. If you're not a fan of Mark Hall, well, this is the year to get into it and be excited about him because he has had his 2nd undefeated season going into the national tournament. Of course, he didn't finish undefeated in the season. He ended up with 2 losses to Zahid Valencia. But this year, there's no Zahid Valencia because Zahid is moving up a weight class to 184. I'll get to him in just a bit. But Mark Hall last year was 30-1, and he's looking for his 4th straight national finals appearance, and he's looking for his 2nd title, 2nd since freshman year. Now, another guy at this weight class who's going to try to hold him off is Miles Amin. Miles Amin, the senior from Michigan, 22-4 last year, had a very close match with Mark Hall at the national tournament last year. Went into overtime, I believe. Now, these guys have wrestled 5 separate times, and every single time it's been within a point. And that's what is so exciting to me about Amin is because we could see some close matches going into duels, Big Tens, and of course the national tournament. But the other guy who's in the Big Ten, who has moved up a couple weight classes, is Michael Kemmer. Michael Kemmer was, of course, wrestling 157 pounds a couple of years ago at Iowa still, but now after his year off, whenever he took a medical redshirt year, he's bumping up to 174, and he placed 7th as in his last year that he wrestled. This year, of course, he's looking to place higher. Right now, he's ranked number 4 at 174. Now, the other guy that I mentioned already is Zahid Valencia at 184. Now that we're moving up a weight class, just like Zahid. Zahid from Arizona State was 31-2 last year. This is, like I said, nobody on this list is undefeated. Nobody. Some of them may have been undefeated going to nationals, but none of them finished the season undefeated. Valencia is in his senior year. Valencia, of course, last year had 2 losses early on to Mark Hall and Daniel Lewis, and he ended up avenging those losses, both of them at the national tournament. Now, he is a 2-timer, and he's looking to become a 3-time champion this year. Can it be done? I believe so, but he's going to have some tough competition in Ben Darmstadt of Cornell. Last year, he took a medical redshirt year, but he's dropping down from 197 pounds. I think these two going back and forth, what's exciting to me is Zahid's bumping up, Darmstadt's going down, and although I thought Zahid looked very big for 174, I think he's a big guy. I think Darmstadt coming down is going to be tough for Zahid. It's going to be interesting to see how these two wrestle. Now, moving at 197 pounds, Colin Moore is the first guy I want to talk about because last year he had a phenomenal season. Phenomenal. Made it to the national finals, had 3 losses, all to the same guy in Bo Nickel, who was the national champion, of course, but he blew pretty much everybody else out of the water. Finished with a 23-3 record, placed second last year, and he's ranked number 1 at 197 pounds this year. The next guy at 197 is Kyle Canal. Kyle, at 197 pounds, actually beat Colin Moore a couple years ago at the national tournament. He beat him, which was probably the story of the entire tournament. He pinned Colin Moore, who was the number 1 ranked guy at the time in 2018, and he basically helped Penn State win that national title back then. And now that he's at Penn State, I'm interested to see how he's going to do. He was 30-11 that season. That's why he was kind of an underdog whenever he went into the national tournament, but he ended up placing 3rd and was incredible to watch. Moving up to heavyweight, Anthony Kassar. First guy I want to talk about, the junior coming in from Penn State last year, returning not All-American, but national champion. Kassar was granted 2 more years of eligibility because of his 2 medical redshirt years, and he had some incredible wins last year. Of course, 2 victories over Gable Steveston, only 1 loss on his record to Derek White of Oklahoma State, was 30-1 overall. The other guy that I just mentioned is Gable Steveston. Gable Steveston, the sophomore, is looking to avenge those losses to Anthony Kassar. Of course, these two have gone back and forth, and they will continue to go back and forth this year. Steveston from Minnesota was 36-2 last year. Like I said, there's only 2 losses coming from Kassar, ended up placing 3rd with 36 overall wins. I mean, that's just incredible. This is incredible to me. And the last returner that I want to see this year and that you should be very excited about is Tanner Hall, the senior from Arizona State. He was 7-1 last year. Didn't place at the tournament in 2018, but he did take a redshirt year last year, not medical, not Olympic, but just a regular redshirt year last year. So because Kassar didn't wrestle him, I'm interested to see how that match goes, as well as he actually did wrestle Gable Steveston in his redshirt year, but this was a sudden, this match went into sudden victory. So we could see Hall, who's ranked number 4 right now at the national level. I'll be excited to see how that goes. Please let me know, who are you most excited to see wrestle this year? Which returners do you want to see?